I hated this movie, by the way.
There you go. I told you. Told you.
You hated this movie.
This is gonna be a spicy one, baby.
Oh my god!
I'll be the voice of reason. I'll be the tempering force in this
Holy
conversation.
shit.
Mediate this shit.
Welcome back to Foreplay. I know you might have been expecting something like a Robert Redford arc, but surprise! We had a one-night stand last week. Our bender has continued, and so it's a one-night stand again.
We just keep cheating on our wife, Robert Redford.
It's the worst thing is that you named it one night stand, and we're like giving up our like husbandly duties to skip another week. Yeah, I'm still with that bitch in Reno. See ya.
It's too real.
So, if you guys missed our Twilight Zone episode, Richard picked 4 Twilight Zone episodes, which we watched. We've never done a TV show for Foreplay before, but One Night Stand is going to be the one that we use to address more modern media, right? So if there's something that has come out relatively recently that we don't want to build a whole arc around, and for reasons that we will probably get into, I absolutely do not want to do a Guillermo del Toro arc because that would be torture to me.
Wow.
We will. Yeah, I have strong opinions.
Wow.
About
Okay.
him. So we are doing Frankenstein because conveniently everybody can watch it now because it just came out on Netflix. It had a very limited theatrical release. Guillermo del Toro has been doing Netflix films. He did Pinocchio, which I have not seen a couple years ago. And he released his anthology series, which I did quite enjoy, called Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, which includes a variety of directors that he got to do short films a la The Twilight Zone. So it's an anthology collection. I would say especially, we've talked about this before, the Panos Cosmatos one, the director of Mandy did one that is, like, in my opinion, by far the best of these, but there are several good ones. So that is worth your time if you don't have... if you want to watch something a little bit shorter, don't have time to watch a film, pop that on, you'll have a good time. That said, Frankenstein comes out, and this is a film that, especially Guillermo del Toro winning Best Picture for Shape of Water, also a terrible movie.
I feel like, by the way, spoiler,
like
surely that is going to become a reference point for this film as well. It's just it's the same movie there.
So Guillermo del Toro releases Frankenstein, and we'll have Richard talk about the history of Frankenstein in cinema. You guys should be aware that Frankenstein is an early 19th century piece of fiction by Mary Shelley. It is considered potentially like the first science fiction novel of all time, and has been very famously copied, and in the early days of cinema became a kind of, I would say, unlikely horror staple, and Frankenstein's monster joined like the universal cast of monster characters like the Wolfman, right? Yep. Richard, how did this evolve? You would know this.
Right. Okay. So one of the things that Universal kind of jumped on was they looked at all of the classic, kind of monsters which were available to put into cinema at that particular time. And obviously they went out and got, Dracula and Frankenstein, etc. Frankenstein was 1931 when they made the Universal adaptation, which of course is the classic,
which was over 100 years since the novel came out.
Yes,
by the way. So it's
which is quite crucial because that's how I think that's how like copywriting and what have you works in America, right? If something's unless somebody specifically claims it for 100 years, it becomes like public domain and available to all.
That was changed later, so it's like 93 years or something now, but it was less before because people didn't live as long, and also Disney was the one who was like pushing lawyers to like petition the government to extend it. Anyway,
because if anyone wonders,
I think it was like it started at like 50 or 75 years or something. It's like if you made something when you were young, it would last you until the end of your life. The rights, basically, that was the intent.
Yeah, because if anyone wonders why, there's actually if you remember the original Mickey Mouse cartoon Steamboat Willie, that went into public domain this year. And even though it's a Disney property, essentially, because, Mickey Mouse, etc., the Steamboat Willie aspect isn't. They never made a specific claim for that. And so, because it's in the public domain, there's actually a horror film based on Steamboat Willie called Screamboat. that came out this year.
And just like
actually true.
the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, because
Yeah,
Winnie
yeah,
the Pooh
exactly.
went into
Yes.
public domain. Very similar.
Popeye as well. There's a Popeye one. So anyway, just in case people wonder why that's happening. But anyway, Frankenstein was one of the great Universal monster pictures, and I mean, really, really well done. Obviously, the key difference was because of sensibilities at the time, they had to be very careful about how they handled, resurrecting the dead and what that might mean about God and all of that stuff. And obviously, these are themes very specifically explored in the novel, but people's sensibilities were a little bit more delicate at the time. And this is one of the reasons why you have this very monstrous, the classic flat head, green makeup, bolts in the neck monster portrayal comes from that 1931 movie. It was also directed by James Whale. There's a great movie about him called where he's played by Sir Ian McKellen, called Gods and Monsters. It's fucking excellent. James Whale was one of the great horror directors. He did Frankenstein and the much better picture Bride of Frankenstein, which was essentially a sequel, but it took part of the book, which doesn't really happen in this Del Toro movie so much. It's alluded to in a throwaway line, essentially. But like Frankenstein gets lonely and he asks his creator to make him a companion, and then James Whale went away with it. And I think it's Bride of Frankenstein that has the blasphemous line, which they edited out. But if you go and look at the restored original, it's there now, where he goes, I know what it's like to become God. I am God, he says, as the fucking lightning's coming down. Just amazing stuff. Now, obviously, because Frankenstein became this like runaway hit for Universal, and again, it had a very specific sensibility. The monster, for instance, is a monster. It's a lumbering corpse. It doesn't have any dialogue. Wonderfully played by, of course, the great Boris Karloff. And the only insight we get into the monster about whether or not it's is there a delicate soul inside is the scene with the girl where he watches flowers floating down a river and he's like, oh, that's pretty, and so he picks up the girl and he throws her into the river. And again, this is like, for 1931, this is crazy. Like, he's child murder, you know what I mean? And obviously the girl drowns, and that's why everybody comes to kill the monster. And you're meant to be like almost similar to like King Kong. The monster doesn't know the harm it's doing, it's just confused, but of course in the novel the monster is sentient and has intelligence and a particular sensitivity and sensibility. So I looked this up before this show. There's been something like over 400 cinematic adaptations of Frankenstein throughout history, different countries, everything. If you include television or whatever, it's like closer to 900. If you include like individual episodes of television and what have you. It's one of the most adapted, monsters in all of literature. And ultimately, if you've ever watched a movie where there is some sort of ambiguity about whether the monster is sensitive or you owe it to Frankenstein, resurrecting the dead, Frankenstein. It's just all Frankenstein. And ultimately, it was the perfect foil for Del Toro, because Del Toro has been essentially remaking Frankenstein for most of his movies. Del Toro is always sympathetic to the monster. If you've ever watched like Blade, even Blade 2, which is superior to Blade, controversial but true, where the Reapers are fucking, they are the like cast-off creatures from Vampire Society. Del Toro always finds an angle to be sensitive to the monsters in all of his films, and that for him to do Frankenstein, it is a marriage made in heaven. Even though by the sounds of it, you two guys hated it, or as I should establish, Monty hated it. Duncan
hated it.
I just found it underwhelming. Like, my biggest problem was, first of all, like, it had some elements of the Del Toro sort of visual style, but I didn't find it actually went that crazy. Like, one thing I enjoy about his work is the idea that he's going to go like redesign every aspect of the set. So I felt like actually essentially, I actually thought this movie felt like it was, in a weird way, it felt like it was short. Like, not much felt like it happened in the movie. I also felt like it was quite stripped down. Like, no joke, most of what happened in that movie, I would have expected to be like the first half or first 2/3 of the film, and there'd be some like big thing towards the end. Because I felt like it rushed through the story. Like, literally almost half of the movie is just like making the monster. Like, before you even get to like what's its relationship with the outside world and what's it doing beyond. So I also felt like it felt really contained as a film to me. That's another thing I thought this was going to be some giant scope of a movie with massive beats and stuff, but it felt like actually quite a simplistic retelling of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And also it wasted a lot of time on useless flashbacks to his childhood that never really went anywhere and that could have entirely been cut from the movie, and we could have had more scenes with the monster or exploring the monster's relationship with the world or other characters' relationship with the monster.
Though,
but instead we just rushed through
where
that.
This differs to a lot of adaptations is this one was trying to be more faithful to the text. Like one of the problems Frankenstein movies have had historically is that they essentially just use the novel as a leaping off point to explore. I mean, like, the Hammer horror movies are a classic for this, although I would certainly put 1957's Curse of Frankenstein by Terence Fisher on its own.
I mean, the idea he's meeting Dracula or fucking the mummy is obviously insane, isn't it? That is pretty
that's what I mean. It basically became like Victor Frankenstein makes a monster because he's an egomaniac. And the monster goes out and kills a bunch of people, and then either a combination of some Helsing-like figure enters the movie and he has to kill the monster, or Victor Frankenstein gets a prang of conscience and he decides he's going to kill the monster, or the monster kills Victor Frankenstein and is then destroyed, or so there's all these iterations of the story. And as I said, there's been so many fucking Frankenstein movies. This, out of all of the Frankenstein movies I've seen, with maybe the exception of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with Kenneth Branagh in it, I think that was 1994, and that Robert De Niro plays the monster. Probably since then, this is the most faithful adaptation. They tried to do a faithful adaptation in 1994, and obviously it was one of those box office disasters where everyone involved is thoroughly ashamed of having participated in it. Certainly, this is better than that, but if you needed an analog in terms of adaptation, it would be the 94 version, actually. So
that's one of my problems with it, Richard, is that I don't like the source text.
So I mean,
I don't like the novel.
That's a very good thing to explore. So tell me why you don't like the book, because obviously it's lauded as a classic,
So it is lauded as a classic, and I'm not denying that it was incredibly influential. I just think it doesn't hold up very well and is not very good in its own right. So first off, we have to go back even further in time to talk about, and I've spoken about this on the show before, how much I absolutely hate Gothic literature. And Gothic literature was literature in the late 18th and early 19th century, so not probably in the time period that you might think of if you don't know this literature. And what it is absolutely garbage, like ultra violent melodramas that, because we were coming out of the age of enlightenment, all of a sudden kind of like people could get a little bit edgy with stuff. And now we have writers who are, the first famous Gothic novel is the Castle of Otranto. And you have all of these like, spooky castles and people getting gruesomely murdered and incest and pacts with the devil. And it's like, it really is like the most over the top melodramatic garbage that you have ever read. And The Monk by Matthew Lewis is probably the single worst book of this genre, and it is completely god-awful. It literally is the story of a monk, and it's all about incest between the characters and the monk's fall from grace and his temptation by the devil, and then he's like literally signing a contract with Lucifer and getting dropped onto sharp rocks and then going to hell forever. It's trash is what it is. And the thing is, people knew at the time this was trash. Okay, so they would write parodies of the Gothic novels. And there were points kind of late in the 1700s where the number of parodies actually were greater than the number of Gothic novels that were being released. So it was basically just like the lowest common denominator work of fiction. And it was designed very deliberately to like scandalize, noble ladies. and like Men in the Parlors. It aged very badly. Now, what did come out of this was, by the time we get to the Victorian era, I think we get much better literature that is inspired by this, but is much more tasteful. So this is stuff like Bram Stoker's Dracula, for example, which I think is much stronger than the earlier stuff. So there were good ideas that came out of this, and I don't necessarily hate like monsters and spooky castles. That's not what I'm saying. It's the melodramatic aspect of it that really just like grates like nails on a chalkboard to me. And I spoke about this on a previous episode, but Guillermo del Toro also made a movie a few years ago called Crimson Peak, which is a Gothic. It's basically, it's not based on a Gothic novel, but it is in the style of a Gothic novel, and it's put on screen. And I really hated that movie because I hate this kind of literature. And for whatever reason, Guillermo del Toro really likes this kind of literature. And so when I watch Frankenstein, all I see are all the tropes of the Gothic novel, which in the original text, you have to understand that it is kind of a Gothic novel, the original Frankenstein. So if you don't like that, it becomes very hard to watch this. And this is, in my opinion, this film is so insanely overwrought. I can't stand to look at it. I hate the design. I hate the lighting. I hate the story. I hate the dialogue.
Now. Keep going.
I love the acting, by the way.
Yeah, the acting
great. Is awesome in this.
Lots
so
to say
it was literally, if I had not had to finish this movie for this show, I literally would have turned it off because I was so angry at how shit it was, and every part of it was just so
this way I could forgive. Here's the thing, Monty,
and ugly.
There are parts I could forgive, but the part that is just the line in the sand for me is the whole like, and actually, you know what, this random monster, just because right now it's not killing stuff, I think I'm in love with you. Like, I think that is one of the shittest. Like, at least the way it's done in this film, there is just no reason or impetus for that at all. Like,
listen,
I think that is so poorly constructed.
Even I can come along and say there's definite criticisms with this movie, particularly that story beat, which doesn't make sense.
I just don't get it. Like, look, you could go right up to the line of that, Richard. You could do the whole, like, but I have more sympathy for the monster, or, wow, the monster I can relate to. But the idea you'll sort of almost would love it, that seems mad. And then I also found it jarring because personally, one thing I was very shocked about with this film was since they casted Oscar Isaacs, I thought they would make Frankenstein himself way more relatable. Whereas I actually felt like, aside from giving you a few flashbacks, they actually don't. They seem to sort of make him some sort of a distant, weird character where you're not supposed to be maybe relating to him as the main protagonist. So I just felt like the tone was a bit off to me.
Also, you're supposed to feel bad for him after he just murders a bunch of people, and you're like, I guess he wasn't a monster. Anyway,
I don't think the film is coded that way at all. I don't think you're supposed to have any sympathy for.
Let me just do the summary real quick, and then we can begin the debate. Right. So effectively, what this movie does is that it is part of a frame narrative. So the frame narrative is there's a ship stuck in the ice in the Arctic, and there is a captain there who is trying to get this. They're on a North Pole expedition, and he's trying to get out. And this is Lars Mikkelsen, great actor that he's cast in this role.
All that shit people remember.
Yeah, sure. You guys have seen him a million times. They decided.
By the way,
to
this
dress
is
him.
the exact same way the 1994 movie starts. It's the exact.
By the way, the starting is good. Actually, like the initial start.
Okay.
That seemed interesting.
There is a frame narrative in the book around the sea captain in the Arctic. That is from the book. Okay, so there is a frame narrative. The frame narrative. So Lars Mikkelsen is dressed as the sea captain from The Simpsons, which is hilarious and looks terrible. He's on this ship, and all of a sudden they see an explosion, and then they go pick up Oscar Isaac, who is Victor Frankenstein, and they encounter the monster who tries to attack their ship and kills a bunch of the crew members, and then Oscar Isaac
by the way,
is injured.
One thing they actually do quite well at the beginning is they do that thing where they intentionally don't show you what it looks like, and so it actually does have like a mystery and an intrigue. Sure. Like an actual beginning's pretty good.
Yeah.
So then Oscar Isaac tells his sad story about his life to the captain. His sad story of his life is that his father was a strict father who was a doctor who was mean to him. His mother died young of complications in birth with his younger brother. His father wasn't around. He taught him medicine because his father was a surgeon. Fast forward, okay, now he's a surgeon and he's giving this lecture in one of those operating theaters from, the Enlightenment era. Basically, what people would do, if you guys don't know, is that in medical schools they would have like a theater where people could watch them dissect corpses, so you could learn about medicine.
It's also where you show off elephant men.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I was thinking of, at least. Anyway, whatever.
So they're mad at him because he is experimenting with corpses, even though whatever, who cares? And he shows how he can use electricity and like electrodes and science fiction to make a corpse like catch a ball and do other dog tricks. And then they get mad at him and they kick him out. Christoph Waltz, however, is in the audience. What's his name? Harlander.
Yes.
And he's a rich guy who makes his money selling arms to people in wars. So he's like, wow, Victor, I will spare no expense because I'm John Hammond from Jurassic Park at giving you your magic
tower. See, they both traffic in death.
So Christoph Waltz takes Victor Frankenstein to the magic tower, and the magic tower is going to be his laboratory, and he's going to get whatever he wants. So then we have way too long montages of him getting scientific equipment, and then he's like, oh, by the way, Victor, there's going to be a big battle soon where all my guns are involved. Why don't you come be a crow on the battlefield and take some corpses? And he's like, gee, howdy, that sounds good. So they all go to the battlefield.
Remember, he'd had trouble getting Holland because there's like getting the people that were being hung. And they all they were all fucking terrible.
Who cares? Nobody cares about these details.
This is important for the story.
Oh, but that's actually,
why he's on the
by the way, that is also a problem in this film, that's not Richard, which is this. That's another thing actually about Frankenstein that people won't realize because it just doesn't hit now in a secular age. One of the other things about the horror of Frankenstein and the reason why, and they tried to make it in the title even, it's the idea of you playing God, is the notion that if people don't know, back then you weren't even allowed to do autopsies because it was considered still sacred what happened to the body. And so famously, actually, the precursors of like almost the real world Frankenstein type surgeons did used to famously grave rob and things like that to experiment and to be able to find these things out. So actually, back then, the angle of if everyone's Christian, like you are playing God, and what are you doing? That's a way more scandalous idea too. That's essentially like some really far out tech that we would be scared of, like cloning or something. Well, what are you doing? Like that could ruin all of society. So like that angle, they hint at that in the movie, but they also don't hit that particularly hard. Whereas that's another angle you could have done to make this like, well, what are you doing, man? Right? Whereas they just almost make it like the classic inventors thing of like, hey, I've invented this totally amazing thing, and then everyone like, I'm not looking at that, you dickhead. Even though like, yeah, you're making shit like come alive, like, no, well, don't look at that. He's fucking done nothing. They're like, just look, he's done some amazing. So and that already set me off because I'm like, what's going on here? Like, he's obviously cracked some honey. Why would no one be interested in this? This seems pretty fucking dope to me.
This is the future. This is possible. Why not study it? Why not quantify it? This is unholy, an abomination.
I mean, look, I want to add as well, just as a little point of history, particularly in Britain, so one of the things that did used to happen was essentially cadavers that had been executed were just, they were, because it essentially belonged, a lot of them were poor, so they weren't having burials or funerals. A lot of them were just given over to doctors and medical science. It's kind of historically accurate. And what's interesting is in 1823, there is this thing called the Judgment of Death Act, which gets passed in Britain, which allows judges to show clemency and mercy, many of which did because they considered it a Christian thing to do, and they could commute any sentence of death to life imprisonment, which, by the way, in the 1800s is easily worse than death, right? But what this led to is because there was now fewer corpses going over to medical science, this is what gives birth to the grave robber. And the grave robber for medical science was a real thing. Like if you go look at Burke and Hare and all of this stuff. So just an interesting point because I think
it was common across Europe too, not just
yeah. I think Del Toro.
If anything, there's a straight fire movie idea. It's a movie set in the 18th century where it's like a posse movie. Where it's like I need 1,000 bodies by the end of the week. Like bloody hell, how am I going to do that? Well,
you
don't even want to know exactly. First of all, we break down the perimeter walls. Like, the whole thing like that exactly.
Yeah, the corpse heist. That'd be cool.
Just divert a river through the graveyard to wash them all. Anyway, so they go get all the corpses, and then he starts sewing them all together. And in the middle of this, his brother's fiance is having some really awkward flirting with him that it leads nowhere. And then
by the way, there's another thing. So another reason I can't handle the idea she's experiencing innocent, pure love with the monster. Yourself out immediately to her fucking fiance's brother in like I think quite an inappropriate manner as someone who's read some Jane Austen.
I'm also
like,
pretty sure
it's been pouring herself out to everyone, bro. What the fuck is that angle? And then she simultaneously then instantly plays hard to get like, oh, I'm not interested. You're like, you're doing it all. What are you talking
It's been 20 years since I've read the book, but I'm pretty sure that's not in the book.
Surely,
pretty sure it's not in the book.
Because that's like a soap opera.
I don't remember
for
that.
reals. Like you just meet her and she's already coming onto you or whatever, and trying to joust you intellectually or whatever. So he has the shittest riz of all time too. He's one of these. He's like an example of an artist that doesn't know what he's doing. He's just walking up to say,
"He's not meant to have riz. He's a pioneer in science.
He's whack.
Anyway, let's get through the summary, and then we can argue about the movie. So he then decides to.
I always forget we're still on the summary. Keep going.
Sorry.
Get it going. Get out of the way.
All right. So he then is like, all right, now's the time to lightning this motherfucking corpse. And Christoph Waltz is there, and he's like, I have sudden syphilis. Put me in the corpse so I can live forever.
It's implied he had it the whole time. He's got chronic knob rot, and it is a progressive disease.
Yeah, but we suddenly find out about it. Right. And
so still really don't understand what he thought was going to happen. Of like, right, put me in there. It's like, it's not the Matrix. How
would I do
how
that?
am I going to put you inside? That's another body. Like that's like some Carl Pilkington shit. What's he talking about? I'm going to put you in there, you mad fuck. All right,
another common modern interpretation of Frankenstein's monster, particularly in the Hammer horror, is he puts a brain into the monster.
Oh, true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that happens all the time. So it's probably an illusion.
Oh, I see, right.
Yeah,
okay, but it doesn't make sense in this context. Anyway, they have
the brain would also be syphilitic. So I mean,
that's what he said.
Yeah.
So they have a really stupid fight on the rainy roof, and Christoph Waltz falls to his death in a really stupid way. And then they lightning the corpse. Oh, the corpse is alive, but it can only say Victor. So now the monster is there, and it is like a child. Everything is new to it. It can only say Victor at first. He decides to chain it up in the basement.
Only say Victor? Why is it like that?
Right, stop. We'll get there.
No, yes. Like, why can't it only say Victor? Whatever.
Why does it learn later?
I know. And
These
then later
questions
on, just have a full
nobody
conversation
knows.
with like, whatever, mate.
Whatever. So anyway, then all of a sudden it's in the basement, and then Victor Frankenstein decides, you know what? I don't really like this thing. Oh, I forgot. So Mia
the best
Goth's
part
character,
is, even though he's actually created life as an amalgamation of multiple creatures, he then goes, what? It can't fully talk and read books yet? Not interested. Can't be asked, mate. You know what? Fuck off. Fuck off.
I hope that guy never has kids,
I think he's the
way.
least curious scientist I've ever seen, mate. Like, even in actual life, can't already talk. Fucking waste of our time. See, I'm out.
Can you say boots?
Victor.
No, yes. How about hand? Can you say hand? Hand.
I know, he's like, I must have like made a incorrect connection somewhere. I hope he never has kids,
anyway,
by the way.
Scrap that. I won't do like a second draft or anything. Don't worry about it. I know. You've nailed it already. What are you doing now?
So anyway, Elizabeth comes down and she likes the monster for reasons that are never explained or are even in her character.
Water 2.0. There you go. That's Shape of Water again. By the way, that's the first movie that gave me maybe a sign like maybe Guillermo del Toro not always for me. Maybe some of the movies are just for him on this one because that movie's trash. Whatever. It's all good.
It is. I agree with you. Anyway, so then she leaves, and for reasons that Victor's like, well, this did fail. Why would we think it had failed? You just actually managed to resurrect a stitch together pile of corpses.
He's actually revolutionized all of science if he could just
all of human understanding.
If he could just see
and he's like, but what if I killed this thing? So he explodes his tower in a really hilarious way.
Bro, you're an actual scientist. Just strap it down and kill it or something. Why do you have to actually like 9/11 that motherfucker? Why is that even necessary? Why are you basically just auto-destructing your own tower? Like, fucking, it's just nonsense in it. Doesn't even make sense. Just kill it. Use a scalpel to make you mad.
It's so stupid,
guys. The scalpel and just disconnect its head or whatever.
But then right as he lights the match in an extremely melodramatic move, he immediately decides that he wants to save it. So he goes in and gets exploded, and his leg gets torn off. And then the monster escapes, and then it spends time hiding in a mill like to grind flour next to this house, learning about humanity and being the spirit of the forest. It's kind of like Pan's Labyrinth in that way, I guess. And then all of a sudden, some people go out to hunt wolves, and he becomes friends with this blind old man who's nice to him and teaches him how to read books. And now he can like read literature and talk, I guess. And then the wolves attack the old man, and then the people come back, and the old man's dead, and they blame the monster, even though he's in a room full of wolf corpses. Why would you walk into a room and see a clothed man with a bunch of wolf corpses and be like, that man killed the other man? Doesn't make any sense. But they chase him out.
To be fair, he is a giant corpse.
He's leaned over with his back to the door 30 feet away.
But they've already seen him at that point. They've already tried to kill him.
Be reasonable.
Here's the FAQ question for you. Do you even have an out on this one, old Donnie Trump? How will you wriggle out of this jam?
All right, go on then. I've got Teflon.
Right, so here's the question. Why does he have to be like 1.5 times the size of a normal human? Isn't that already, as Monty's pointed out, quite a jarring
It's actually explained
issue?
in the line in the movie.
Go on,
It's explained in the line, but it doesn't make sense. He's like, I have to get bigger bodies because it's easier to put together. That doesn't even make sense, by the way. Doesn't even make sense.
That's why he gets the longest legs, the longest arms, the longest torsos. Because
this is the second shit long legs movie I've seen in a while.
Well, listen. You can't. Right. This is better than long legs. Come on.
We're not done.
Come on.
So then the monster goes, and William, Victor's brother, is getting married to Elizabeth. He takes one last pass at Elizabeth. Gets slapped.
This guy's racist as shit.
Stop.
It's so bad.
Stop.
It's so bad.
And then all of a sudden the monster busts in because it's mad at Victor and kills everybody. And Elizabeth gets shot by Victor because he's trying to shoot the monster.
That's stupid.
And it was extremely stupid. Also, he gets thrown into a cabinet, and then there's just a gun next to him for no reason. Okay. And then the monster flees, and Victor's like, I will have my revenge. And then he chases the monster across all of the mountains of Europe and into the Arctic Circle, which, to be fair, does happen in the book, and it is also stupid in the book. And then that's where he tries to explode him with dynamite, and that's where the explosion happens.
In the book as well, isn't that part added? Like, surely it can be killed.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Is there a logic to that?
I thought the book ended with him, the monster burning itself to death.
It's just like on
I think it ends with the monster about to go burn itself. I don't remember if it actually ends with the monster actually burning itself. It was going to try, though.
Yeah.
It was going to try.
Because like Victor dies or something, and they have like a funeral for him, and then he's
like, I'm going to go burn Victor, and the implication is also myself.
Yeah. I think that's how that goes. I haven't read the. By the way, I also
decades.
I haven't read it in decades as well, and also not anything I'm ever going to reread. So,
I'm never going to read that book again. So don't try and convince me. All right, so let's start with the issues of this movie. Like Thorin said, there's about 1 billion problems with the story, the way things are presented. Like, I think you can enjoy individual moments in this film, but I have so many problems because it doesn't actually tackle any of the themes that are even in the book. So I have to remind people that the book is called Frankenstein or The Modern Prometheus. That is the title of the book. And the implication here is that Victor, Frankenstein, is the modern Prometheus. Prometheus is the Titan in Greek mythology that brings fire to mankind. In punishment for bringing the gift of fire to mankind, which was not made for people, he is then chained to a rock where every day an eagle comes and eats his liver, and then he never dies. And so every day the eagle comes and eats his liver regrows. It's a form of torture forever, basically. And the idea here is there's literal fire, which allows civilization, but there's also metaphorical fire, which is like reasoning. So it's like he gave man the ability to have consciousness, right? And that's the implication. So the idea is he is giving a gift to the world, and he is being punished in a horrible way forever for it, right? And we don't really see that because Victor in this film thematically is not very Promethean because nobody treats what he's done as a gift, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
right?
So you're on point there. I mean, but again, I think that's also just a problem with the text. I don't think that's like
it is.
Yeah, that's not a Del Toro problem, you know? We got to be very careful here, right? We got to assign
But
all of the Shelley's
you're
bullshit
making a
is
movie
Shelley's bullshit.
that
Yep.
could fix some of these problems.
Yeah,
and
but like,
he is referenced as Prometheus, and they talk about the eagle eating the liver in this film, and yet he doesn't seem to have this understanding of how these things apply.
So first of all, as I said, Del Toro's been essentially remaking Frankenstein all of his life, and he has done a bunch of modern interpretations of Frankenstein. I would argue this. Just watch this. This is
Kronos. I actually like that
it's
movie.
a banger movie, actually, yeah.
This movie fucking rules. This is the BFI. They've done this.
It was his first film, guys,
release.
if you don't know, from the 80s.
Yeah. Like early 90s. But
early 90s, sorry. Yeah. So but it's about vampires, basically. But it's actually quite a good movie.
Yeah, it's a modern retelling of the vampire mythos, where the vampire is sympathetic because it's an old man who just wants to be a bit more youthful, and he's using secret scarab tech that he doesn't really know about, but he still has
very cool, actually.
He has a really touching, loving relationship with his granddaughter, and of course, obviously, the monster and the child and the youthful innocence. This is in Del Toro. A lot of people think Pan's Labyrinth is his best movie because it is the essential distillation of everything Del Toro. I'm not certain that that's true anymore. I think his remake of Nightmare Alley is masterful. I think it's
I hate Nightmare Alley too.
Fantastic. So that could be his best film, but a lot of people will go with Pan's Labyrinth. Anyway,
I think Pan's Labyrinth is very good.
Because he has remade Frankenstein a bunch of times and put his own spin on it, I think the pressure here was to make one that was as faithful to the text as a film could actually be. And I think that's what he essentially did. And he was also hamstrung by the reality of, I can't make the 1994 movie again, which is fucking diabolical. It really shows you how interpretation and adaptation, these critical, components, because they both used the same source text. They were both faithful to the source text in so much as they could be. They used the same framing device to tell the story via flashback. And yet I would urge anyone, if you think this movie is bad, go watch that and just understand how it didn't achieve anything it set out to do. If you can process Helena Bonham Carter as the bride of Frankenstein being brought back from the fucking dead by an oiled up naked Kenneth Branagh, like, have fun with that, like, 'cause that movie fucking blows. Like, I mean, there's no, I love a Frankenstein movie. I've seen them all practically. I'll even tell you about there's something called Frankenstein 80, which was directed by a little known Italian director called Mario Mancini. And it's a horrible Italian giallo style Frankenstein. I've seen that, and I would rather rewatch that than watch the 1994 movie ever again. But anyway, to the point, I think that was Del Toro's ultimate. I think that was his burden. I think Del Toro was burdened with the necessity to make as faithful an adaptation as he could to the source text, which is overly long, overly verbose, doesn't really explore the themes that it claims that it's going to do. There's even all this like conspiracy about whether Mary Shelley actually wrote it or not, or whether it was like a cat. I know it's all bullshit, of course, but like whether it was
Percy Shelley, right?
Yeah, whether it was Shelley, but also not just like was it him, but it was also like a cast off of one of his worst ideas, and he was like, "You can have that one, love. You can put your name on that shit," which also is explored in a movie by Ken Russell called Gothic, which I know Duncan has seen. It's about that supposed famous or infamous meeting where they all got together to write the ultimate horror story, and Frankenstein comes out.
Value piece if people are watching this film.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 86 if people want to look it up. 86 Gothic, Ken Russell. Anyway, so I think that's the problem he had. I think he was just stuck with like, shit, man, I've remade Frankenstein a bunch of times. I've now got this big budget Netflix deal where I'm under pressure to make a faithful adaptation. And I'll also add as well, I think probably one of the things that hampers the movie isn't necessarily Del Toro's sympathetic eye to the monster, although I am vibing that you guys fucking hate that. And we'll get to that. But also because Del Toro because it was Netflix and there wasn't a big studio breathing down his neck, I think some of Del Toro's kind of like loyalties, like put it this way, this is essentially the Frankenstein movie with the cast of Game of Thrones and all the supporting act, which he did that for Pinocchio too, if you've seen that. The blind guy in this, David Bradley, is Geppetto in that. Christopher Waltz is in Pinocchio. It's like
I mean, the acting is not the problem. I actually
no,
really
the
like all
acting's
the actors
the
in here.
acting's in this
Acting's
movie is
excellent.
exceptional. While we're there, let's talk about that just quickly. I think this is Oscar Isaac's best performance since Ex Machina. That's how highly
Ex
I rate
Machina,
it.
he's really good in that.
I think he is exceptional in this movie, and I don't like him. You could rewind like 40 episodes back where I'm like, can we stop casting this motherfucker in everything? Little did I know Timothy Chalamet was waiting in the fucking shadows to be fucking ubiquitous in every film that I hold dear, ruining everything. But Oscar Isaac is great in this. I mean, as a central character, he carries the movie in a lot of ways. And Mia Goth, who I've highlighted before on this podcast, she is a delight. She might even steal this film from everybody. Even if I don't like the direction the storyline goes in, I think she is amazing. And I knew from the moment I saw X, I knew she was going to be just a huge star. That movie ends with the credits rolling on over a close-up on her losing her mind. I haven't seen anything like it since The Shining. It's incredible. And to be able to do that on what is essentially a sort of throwaway horror movie about the horrors of the female form aging but still being sexual and sexually alive is like, she's just amazing in that film. And so, yeah, I think all of the acting's good. Christopher Waltz, I'm a little bit worried about, because I think he's turning into the new Giancarlo Esposito, in the sense that once Gustavo Fring happened, everyone was like, oh, I need an autistic man that represents
so like
capitalism.
Post Inglorious Bastards, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I need an autistic man who fucking represents everything that's wrong about capitalism. It is cold and unflinching and calculated, and he's just in that John Wick. He's in fucking The Boys, like whatever. He's just that guy over and over again. It's just diet Gustavo Fring. And unfortunately, Christopher Waltz is always like the whimsical, wonderful turn of phrase character he played in Django. He's just that now in every film, and it's like, be careful, bro, because not everyone's Tarantino. Not everyone's going to direct you right. But he was still great in this movie, and there's some incredible lines in this movie. I love what he said. What was it? One night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury, they say. Brilliant. Love that as the syphilitic reveal. Excellent.
Syphilis. Yeah, I'm dying. One night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury. Isn't that the phrase?
You know, far too many holiday gifts end up in a drawer or in the back of a closet. Or if you're buying stuff for yourself now, you can actually save some money by using our sponsor, Mint Mobile. So you've got more funding to work on your various nefarious monster-creating projects like Dr. Frankenstein. Mint Mobile is offering unlimited premium wireless for only $15 per month. And all the Mint plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. It's an excellent way to save on your wireless bill, especially if you're like me and you're using Wi-Fi. It's so prevalent in public places these days, or if you work from home. Are you really getting advantage of more expensive wireless plans? I'm guessing you're not. And you can get a 3, 6, or 12-month unlimited plan for only $15 a month. It's Mint Mobile's best deal of the year, and it's happening right now. You can bring your current phone and number over to Mint. There's no contracts, no nonsense, and you can switch today if you've got an eSIM on your phone, which most of them do these days if you have a newer phone. So I use this because I've been in Korea, guys. When I go back to the States, it saved me a lot because I still need my US number. And they also offer international plans. If, like me, you travel quite a bit to other countries, you can go ahead and prepay for a number of days in advance for international coverage for high-speed wireless. So don't get them socks. Get them premium wireless for $15 a month. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/4play, FOURPLAY. That's mintmobile.com/4play. It's a limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months plan required, which is equivalent to $15 a month. Taxes and fees extra, initial plan term only. Greater than 35 gigabits of data may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. And thanks for supporting Foreplay.
Really, the only person I had a problem with in this movie was the monster a little bit, just a little
He's
bit.
fine.
I mean, it's fine, but yeah, it's like
Also, other people's
Am I missing
praise
something?
of the monster was
that's one thing I found bizarre. One, I don't think actually of all the elements, I think that's not that great an aesthetic look. That looked a bit whatever. I actually found that that almost looked somewhat more like out of actual sci-fi, like an alien or something. It didn't look particularly monstrous in that sense. And then also the other thing is, listen, this is where obviously people disagree with me. I don't particularly find whoever that actor is to have done that great a job. I think it was just whatever. Like I'm amazed people think that's like some amazing performance.
Jacob Elordi,
I thought it was just whatever. It was just okay to me.
Well, like I said, he's one of these actors you probably do.
Like I actually thought. Look, I've said this in the past. If I ever think a movie will be good, I intentionally don't watch trailers and don't watch like clips and try not to find out like info from the set. So when I heard this movie announced, I actually assumed they meant Christoph Waltz was going to play the monster, or some like actor that had like crazy chops. So I'm actually a bit shocked at that because this character is on the screen most of the time. I'd argue he's on the screen the most.
This is one of the actors you are going to have to watch out for because he's part of that Euphoria set. Where,
yes, the Gen Z soap opera.
He's like in his 20s still. He's already got a bunch of like rom-com credits. He was in Euphoria. He's
gonna be Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights, which is.
Just get used to seeing this motherfucker. And by the way, he can act. Like he was good in Saltburn. That as I talked about, Saltburn was a decent film, and he's really good in it. And so he's got a bunch of credits where you go, but he's going to be big. So just learn to live with him would be my advice. Like you put it this way: fast forward 10 years, this guy's going to have been in probably like 50 films. And 10 of them are going to be really, really good, and 40 of them are probably going to be slop. But that's life, But anyway, how did
I like
he do
Robert
as the
Pattinson,
monster?
who got the slop out of the way and then just
exactly
weird shit.
But that's what I mean. You never know when you're going to get a Pattinson with these types of actors. You know what I mean? You never know. You really don't know when it's going to happen. And he could be the next one. Probably not, because it does rarely happen that you get a Pattinson. But maybe he does turn up in The Lighthouse too. In 10 years, who knows? But anyway, how did he do as the monster is the question. And I have to say, it's 6 out of 10 for me, the monster, which is a problem when the monster is the entire second half of the movie, essentially.
But also the problem with the monster is that he's not given enough time to become a sympathetic character, which is one of the huge issues with this film, because this movie is already over 2.5 hours long. And they waste
Mary Shelley.
so much time in the first half of the movie being extremely boring by doing things like going back to Victor's childhood, which doesn't need to be in this movie. And
but like they had Charles Dance for a day, so what are you gonna do?
I did enjoy Charles Dance because I love Charles Dance, but
he just plays that guy now. He's another one. He's another Giancarlo Esposito. Right, we need a miserable man who speaks perfect classical English in a menacing accent. All right, Charles Dance it is then, I guess.
And who looks very severe.
And the mad thing is, in real life, nothing like that. He's a sweetheart. Like he's the loveliest, nicest, warmest man. Like, but he just
so we waste a lot of time with that. We waste a lot of time on like the tower renovation and like scientific equipment for no payoff. By the way, we literally have entire scenes in this movie where he's like, I can't do this. The silver is not silver enough. And I'm like, why am I watching this? Why am I watching this? Just get the silver and put it in there. I don't even need to know it's silver. Just show me that you're putting the lightning spikes in. Why is there a scene about the alloy?
Let me ask you a question then. Was that scene just for no reason where one of the like spoke things gets slightly damaged, and it's like, is that what supposedly changes the experiment, or was that just completely for no reason? You know what I mean? Where like one of the like things gets like banged or something, and it's like, but I can't tell. Was that supposed to be what threw off the experiment and made it go wrong? What are we doing?
The movie doesn't lean into that a lot of other interpretations of Frankenstein leans into is the monster is in itself fundamentally broken in some way. This is often explored in modern Frankenstein movies by the brain, right? So one of the classic tropes in about 100 Frankenstein movies, let's say, is, right, I have a perfect brain. I will put the perfect brain in the monster. Whoopsie doodle, I have dropped the brain on the floor. it'll be fine, we'll put it in. Or whoopsie doodle, I have got the brains mixed up, and instead of genius science mentor man, I have put in rapist and killer man. And these are tropes you just have to live with. So that was one thing. But the other problem is that's not going to chime with Del Toro. The monster is, for Del Toro, the heart of the movie, and therefore he can't be fundamentally broken in some way. He can't be a botched experiment. And ultimately, that is why we do get, and there is some giga cringe in this movie, I agree. There is none more so than explicitly having his dying little brother tell him to his face as he dies, Victor, you're the real monster.
The way they actually say that is like something out of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah, no, it's bad.
Like it's actually outrageous.
It's like we all know the implication is that Victor is the monster.
Yeah,
everybody has been saying. Elizabeth and me is like, I don't know, you're playing with God.
The only way that scene could have been saved is as his little brother's dying. You are the monster. If Oscar Isaacs went, that's a bit on the nose, isn't it, mate? And,
You are the monster.
because it is fucking ridiculous.
And then Oscar Isaac said, maybe the real lessons we learned were the monsters we made along the way.
And he literally did make a monster. Let's also just talk about the other thing I hate with this movie, and I hate's a strong word, but I really.
By the way, I like to listen. I do get that. I think this was a premise in Frankenstein, but bro, I'm sorry that they just throw it in there as an incidental remark, where it's like, what the reason I won't. By the way, even though essentially we've bizarrely found a compromise, if you make me a mate, I'll fuck off and live eternally, and you can just do whatever.
Yeah.
No, because I'm worried you might procreate. Like,
come on. What are the chances his dick works?
You want to actually electrocute using lightning itself, channel it into a bunch of dead bodies, which have to be super loud. But at the end of all that, it's just going to procreate. What are you saying?
Also, he's literally making it. He could just not put a uterus in there. He literally
no, he can't, Monty. He has to get the uterus as well and the dick, and he had to get a long dick to go fucking. You know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly.
It's not a long dick. He can't put it on.
The logistics of this whole thing.
By
the way,
it's impossible to sew it on unless it's large.
If anything, I've realised the one good thing about the fact they didn't explore that is then they'd have had the Mia Goth character have a one-night stand with the monster before she died to make it more romantic, because these kids now have gone too far with the sex and all that.
All right, Richard, what was the other thing you hated?
No, so disliked. Here's what I disliked. Right. They definitely needed a script doctor on Mia Goth's arc. Because, and I should be specific actually, because she does play two parts. She's also Frankenstein's mother in the movie. It's just, you don't really pick. That's why he's meant to be enamored with her. So Elizabeth. What should have happened to her? I don't understand this, right? Because it's like, okay, Victor and her are out catching butterflies. She likes to study insects. Right, that's her. She's actually a scientific man, a woman, a lady that doth understand science. Right, that's great. Love that.
And she's not overwhelmed by the sight of his corpse that he's working on.
No,
fascinating.
Yeah, she finds fascinating, right? Which is great. All good stuff. Then they're out catching butterflies, and he gets a butterfly in his finger, and he goes, "Should we set it free, or shall we cage it?" And she immediately goes, cage it. Let's cage this butterfly. So she puts the butterfly in the cage, right? And this is obviously a contrast to what he's doing with the monster, because he changed the monster up and thou shalt not cage the butterfly, etc. But here's the thing. She's all about caging the butterfly. It's definitely her choice. She definitely wants to do that. She's carrying this butterfly that's just starving to death in a fucking cage. Even brings it to him to show, look, I caged it, right? But then in the next scene, when she meets the monster, she's sympathetic to the monster and actually thinks the monster should be free. So why do we not have an in-between scene where the butterfly dies in the cage and she goes, oh my God, it's actually sad? Or, there has to be something.
Also, why does she love the monster? She literally goes downstairs into the dungeon and the monster's like, here's a leaf. And she's like, I love you, monster. And then she carries the leaf around. She pulls it out of a book. She's like, I remember when the monster gave me a leaf. Why? Why is she so enamored with this fucking monster?
They needed to work on that for sure. For sure. And at the end, when the monster takes her away, after Victor shoots at him, even though they've just had a conversation about how he cannot die. Right, whatever.
And the gun just appears, it just appears next to him conveniently after he's chucked into a cabinet.
Yeah, so all bad, right? Don't like any of that. And then the monster runs away with her, takes her to a cave. By the way, there's a really bad... It looks to me, and I've only watched it once, but you can tell me in the comments below. It looked to me there was a continuity error on the thing, because as he's carrying her to the cave, the blood is already in the snow, like they'd done an earlier scene or something. Well, again, whatever. I hate all of this segment. So dislike. And anyway,
he's getting there, guys.
No. This is all bad. I agreed with that before we even sat down to record it. And anyway, he takes her to the cave, and she's going, I was never for this world. No, you were. You were doing great. You were killing it. You were like, you were in like the fucking 1%. You were scientist. It was definitely going well for you.
You were a noble. You were healthy.
I was never for this world. I always knew that I needed some monster dick.
The way I also still don't understand as well.
Things mental.
Right? Okay, I get why Victor Frankenstein might have done things that were unforgivable or made him a monster in some ways. What did his mother do wrong? She's just a disloyal whore.
Here's the other thing I will say, though.
What did he do wrong? He was just chill. He was just a guy. And she's like, oh, wait a minute. I've met literally any other living creature. Fuck you. I'm out. So...
Yeah, what I don't understand is, right, like,
Switch
they made, like, a love trapezoid.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Where...
so fucking bad, Richard.
Yeah, no, they have made a love trapezoid, which is weird.
I know, it's terrible.
But she's never getting with Victor.
Yeah, that's fine.
She's never getting with Victor, and then, but she also sort of is like, well, the brother's like, you know, he's off melting silver or whatever he needs to do, and also then like the monster, but not because that.
But here's the point. What is the purpose of Elizabeth's character within this script? Because if you just delete her, nothing about this movie changes.
Well,
nothing.
So I'm just going to throw this out there.
Okay.
Call me crazy and paranoid. I would just never have allowed her to know the monster existed or ever go down to where it was. I don't know why you're just leaving doors open or fucking just people. What's going on in this room?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of my room. You stay in your room.
No,
I don't even know why that part's even happening.
The best part is as well, like he brings them into the fucking tower, like, and then immediately the monster's like, Victor.
I know.
And he's like,
it's outrageous.
What's that? What's that?
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, don't go down to the monster room.
But Richard,
whatever you
what
do,
is the point? What is the purpose of Elizabeth's character? Because if you think about it this way, if you just delete her, nothing changes, because if William dies, Victor's still motivated to go hunt the monster.
Pure misogyny, this segment. Sounds like pure misogyny. How dare you?
Okay, so we've reached the point of argument where we're just going to accuse each other of bigotry now.
Yeah, correct. You see a strong, independent, scientifically minded woman who's in love with a monster, and you get her out that film.
It's so ass. Like, I think Mia Goth does a good job of acting, but her character's purpose in this film is effectively nothing, and it takes up so much time when we could have actually just had more of the monster interacting with people and learning how to be more human, or maybe developing more sympathy for the monster, which never happens. It never happens. Nothing even makes sense. Think about the way that you develop sympathy for the monster. He's literally just like in a mill looking through a peephole, like, oh, I can learn words and letters. Yeah. It's like, it's just voyeurism. He's not actually learning how to interact with people, and then it's just the blind old guy who takes pity on him. He literally doesn't interact in a healthy way with anybody throughout this movie. So if your purpose is to humanize the monster, you have utterly failed, because he has no relationships with almost anybody except the old blind guy.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all good.
No, it's not fine, Richard.
So another thing,
Shelley
listen, I don't know this part of the book. I can't remember this, but am I off on this? Right. So about a third of the way into the movies, when they switch to like the monster,
I think Richard's the real misogynist, blaming this on Mary Shelley.
Here's the question I have, which is, so they're locked in like a blood feud, but then they're just both in that cabinet, like fucking trying to convince that captain, like he's the judge or something. Like, no, you got to hear my side. Like, you want to kill him? He's right there. Like, no, wait, you must hear. I must have due process. I will act as my own counsel.
Also, can we talk about how shit the frame narrative is in the first place?
My maker told his tale,
will tell you mine.
Now, Frankenstein's monster shuffles around this film mostly in threadbare cloaks, so he could use our sponsor, Into the AM. Into the AM offers a variety of men's apparel in a wide variety of sizes, even monster sizes, if you are the size of Frankenstein's monster, built from a collection of parts of large men, apparently. I like their vintage tees, of which this is one. They have a really soft feel to them and kind of a washed-out, worn-in look with some simple graphic designs on there. In addition to graphic tees, they've got basically everything you could possibly want for a men's wardrobe. They've got chinos, jeans, bomber jackets, workout clothes, unbranded t-shirts that are plain, Henleys for the winter, flannel for the winter, button-ups, polos, whatever you want. Into the AM has got it. And it's the best time of the year to go pick up some because they are having their Black Friday sale, which means everything on the site is up to 60% off. And if you go to intotheam.com/LFN and use code LFN, you will get an additional 10% off on top of that 16% off. 60% off. Not only that, but they offer free shipping to many places worldwide. So if you can't normally support us here at Last Free Nation and Foreplay because you live internationally, now's your time. Plus, you can get gifts for other men in your life. The possibilities are really limitless. I've switched to tons of Into the AM clothes in my own wardrobe. They are comfortable, they are flattering in the silhouette, and they've got all kinds of style options. So head on over to intotheam.com/LFN to get an additional 10% off on top of the 60% off that they are offering already for the Black Friday sale, plus free shipping to many places worldwide. So upgrade your wardrobe, get something warm for yourself for this holiday season, or pick up a gift for one of the men in your life. And you'll be supporting us at the same time. Thanks a lot to Into the AM. We love you guys. Because think about it this way. So the frame narrative happens and they rescue Frankenstein, right? And they take him on the ship and he's like, let me tell you my story as he's lying there. And then conveniently, at exactly the point in time where Victor gets to the part where the monster escapes and he would have no knowledge of the monster's narrative, the monster just busts back through the door. He's like, now it's my turn to tell my story. I just came in here to pick up this story. And it's so fucking bad, man. It's like, it is so contrived at every
the captain's like, whoa, hear him out. He is a monster, but he is, again, a human with human rights and due process. Give him his time.
At the end, Richard,
I cede my time to the monster. It's so
I forgive you, my son.
Just kill him. It's a monster. Just kill it. It's killing him.
Why is he calling him his son at the end?
Yeah,
literally... The monster killed his brother and the woman he loved. Why is he like, forgive me?
I wish.
So bad.
I wish. It's kind of like when you watch Breaking Bad and you just want Walter White to be nicer to Jesse, right? Yeah. I feel that way. I just wanted Victor to, like, if Victor had just taught that fucking monster to read, like that blind guy, none of this is happening. By the way, what I would do is if I created an ever-living, super strong, 7-foot-tall being out of body parts that worshipped me because I was its creator, I absolutely employ him as a bodyguard. Like I just give him clothes and like.
Hey Richard, I've got an idea. What if you were funded by an arms dealer so you could actually just use his connections to turn him into a bioweapon and take him on a rampage across Europe?
All right, Resident Evil. Right?
Also, the only thing, as far as I can tell, that's supposed to immediately make me feel sympathetic towards Frankenstein is that fucking Tywin Lannister's like, if you get one minor detail wrong, I just whip your face. Like,
which is also
seems a bit so over the
unbelievable.
Well, he can't whip his hands anymore. That's how he makes his.
It's so stupid, Richard. Like everything that is explained in this movie is just so fucking stupid that I can't handle it. And like you know, to Duncan's point too, it's like if he's going to become a fatherly figure, or it's like so easy to teach this monster, even easier than teaching a child, it turns out. Yeah. Then if he's a scientist, we're supposed to buy into his sense of wonder and his permanent, you know, fixation on doing the science that is going to, you know, make death irrelevant. Why the hell does he just give up instantly when it's like, it only says Victor? Maybe give it some time, maybe observe it, do science on it, observe.
Saying Victor alone
do other
when
experiments?
You just created life is amazing. Let's not undersell that. Why would you think of that? Like it's immediately spoken English.
You fool!
Your
fool.
name, like it recognizes.
Say yes, no, up, down, anything. You fool!
And then everything about this movie is so overwrought in a way that, again, this is what I hate about Gothic novels and what I dislike about Guillermo del Toro's recent work, because I don't think he used to do this.
Why do you hate Nightmare Alley?
It's too overwrought. It's the same stuff. It's a terrible melodrama. It's because he doesn't know when to stop, Richard. So, for example, I will give you some examples in this movie.
Because I can actually tell you a rare example of where I coincidentally did find something out about the production of this film that will tilt you in that case, which is there was some line or some story. I just saw this randomly when I was like looking up the actors or something, where Oscar Isaac said something like that, that him and Del Toro had a conversation, and that the gist of it was something mad like, we should make this like a fucking Mexican soap opera because we're both like Hispanic.
It is.
I wasn't even aware Oscar Isaac
like
was part of Static or something book here, and he made it like the implication like that. It just
Yes.
the Latin and just came out or something mad like that. That was the gist of it.
Because everything about the visuals, the lighting, the things that happen is like, it's not even just ratcheted up to 11, it's ratcheted up to like 15 in the world's stupidest way. So I'll give you an example from this movie. So first off, the tower itself. Okay, it's a creepy Gothic tower, but it's like they stuck too many gargoyles on it, and then there's just a giant Medusa for no reason. It's like in the back of every shot. Does the Gorgon have any symbolism? No, it's not. There's nothing about the Gorgon that means anything to the themes of this film, but it's just
Knowing Del Toro, it's because Terence Fisher directed a movie called The Gorgon and also directed The Curse of Frankenstein. You just gotta get on his level, bro. Like,
no, that's just postmodern garbage.
They call that an
references.
Easter egg, Monty,
It's references with no meaning, which is garbage. Anyway, so we have this giant. So let's talk about the tower. Let's talk about the tower explosion scene, shall we? And how shit that entire scene is. So first off, he has about 1,000 milk pails full of gas, I'm guessing, flammable liquid, and somehow he has carried all of these, like hundreds of them, up the stairs to the tower by himself. He is putting them everywhere. Then there's another 100 in the lobby, then another 100 in the basement, and he's just pouring them out. This would take days, okay? Then he lights it on fire. Okay, so now it's all exploding. Ignore how much gas it took, and ignore how stupid it is. Ignore how stupid visually it is to see all of... I don't need to see 100 fucking gas canisters. It's dumb. So then we get to the tower exploding. The tower explodes like 30 different times. It just keeps blowing up over and over and over in the most absurd ways. And then the monster's freaking out in the basement. He decides, oh no, I have to go save this thing. He opens the door, huge backdraft, gets launched like 50 feet into a pillar, loses his leg. The monster escapes, goes through a tunnel, then is exploded out of that tunnel into the ocean. It's too much. It's just graphics diarrhea at a certain point. It's not beautiful. It's overkill. There is some
very ropey CGI in certain scenes.
And the CGI is bad. His dreams of the nightmares of the angels, first off, another thing that's just in there with no meaning. There is no meaning to those angel dreams.
I thought they were going to do something. I thought they were foreshadowing something with that, but they never went anywhere.
Nope, completely pointless.
That's fair.
And it looks like ass because the CGI is terrible. The CGI on the wolves is fucking shit. The way the movie looks in almost every scene
Didn't think the wolves was that egregious compared to some of the others.
It was terrible. And the other thing is like the lighting in this movie. So the way Del Toro lights these sets is there's like one ultra bright light in the background, and it's like shining onto, and then there's another light that's like shining onto like half of somebody's face, but it's the same thing in every scene, so it looks so fake all of the time because it's just ultra bright light. But also everything is weirdly evenly lit on the front, so the lighting doesn't even really make sense, and like the shadows aren't quite dark enough, so it to me it looks like AI made this. I think it looks so bad. Then you have the sets themselves frequently look like plastic. The mill gears look awful. I hate the design choices. Here's an example of him being overwrought. His parents' coffins They're so stupid with the figures and the little peepholes with the cushioning. It's like a fucking Victorian nightmare, man. It's so bad. It's tasteless. It's not interesting. It's I mean, Crimson Peak is
By the
worse
way,
than
that's
this,
why
by
I
the
am
way.
actually a bit
Crimson Peak is
surprised
worse.
because
Yeah,
I've
Crimson
always
Peak is worse.
like I've always enjoyed. Like I'll give you an example. I don't think the Hellboy movies are that great, but that second one, the visual aspects of it are fucking awesome.
He
Like,
used to be better.
I vibe
No,
with
but
that
that's what I'm
totally.
saying.
I like it.
He's-
He has that
he's-
Gilliam-esque
he-
thing where he
he's-
does his
he's-
own inventive thing with the backgrounds and sets. I like that normally. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It used to be better. Like, personally, I mean, I think Pacific Rim is a fun movie. I think it's visually cool. I like the robots and stuff. You know, I don't have a problem with that. I think
Just
it's
a
neat.
remake of Robot Jocks, essentially. But
Sure, it's a fucking kaiju mecha show. Like,
exactly.
look, I'm not saying it's a brilliant movie, but I have fun watching Pacific Rim. I like Pacific Rim as a popcorn flick, right? But when I watched, it's like over the years, he just has gotten more and more insane with his visuals, and now it just feels so overstuffed and so oversaturated, and there's nothing that isn't like completely in your face. The lighting is in your face, the effects are in your face, and it's like, well, what if nobody's saying like, don't put the angel vision in there, it doesn't do anything for the movie, and it looks terrible. It looks terrible. It's not scary, it just looks dumb.
I mean, put it this way. So this is where I kind of fell on it, right? Like, you know, right, it's not a Del Toro top 3 film. Where does it? Because I think his top 3 films are Pan's Labyrinth, Nightmare Alley, and Kronos. Right? I think
I disagree with Nightmare Alley, but fine.
Yeah. The rest of his movies, honestly, are essentially, you know, they are just kind of like almost like throwaway monster movies in a lot of ways. Like Crimson Peak, I really disliked. I think that's his worst film.
I hate that movie.
But you know, Blade 2 and Hellboy 2, obviously, you know, Pacific Rim. These are just fun monster movies that you just watch, and it's by a director who loves making cool monsters and putting them on screen.
But that was enjoyable. This is not enjoyable because I don't think he can do the themes that this work requires. You know, we can talk about, I do think at its core, and I do not think that the book is good, but that doesn't mean that the book adaptation has to be bad, because some of the ideas are very interesting, right?
Here's
Power
the
over
thing.
life and death.
You don't take a visionary director, and I don't know why. I don't know if this was a stipulation of the Netflix deal, you know, because obviously he's done Pinocchio, Cabinet of Curiosities, and this all for Netflix, right? So I don't know if it's a stipulation of the Netflix deal, but you don't take a visionary director and then go adapt this material that's been adapted 5,000 times and give us something new. Like, you don't do that. That's a fucking really bad idea. And if you look at, like, you know, Pinocchio wasn't particularly well received, even though he did something I think pretty exceptional aesthetically with it. As an animated, you know, film, it looks really good. You know,
I was talking about Frankenstein a little bit on Nerd Legion with Dylan. He actually made a very good suggestion, which is to say, let Guillermo del Toro do Warhammer 40K, because that's where he can go crazy with this stuff, and I won't care. Like, if you want to make it the most gothic, crazy shit possible, that's the place to do it. But it just feels incredibly weird in Crimson Peak and in this film.
Yeah, and look, I can certainly agree with that.
And Nightmare Alley.
Yeah, well, that I won't agree with. I think Nightmare Alley's excellent. I think you must rewatch that and give it a reappraisal. And I would also recommend watching the original, and then when you look at the how Del Toro essentially updated it and changed it, it's actually really, really good. But anyway, the reality is just this. I think Del Toro, he's been given this big budget. He's been given this, you know, unprecedented control from Netflix. So yeah, some of his mores, some of his peccadillos work their way into the film. But also, I think Netflix don't understand what they've got with Guillermo del Toro as a director. You know, it's like, look, like we've already talked about Terry Gilliam. I think that's a really good analog, and that's not a mistake. You know, Brazil is one of Del Toro's favorite movies. And if you were to take Terry Gilliam and say, I want you to adapt, I don't know, I want you to do Lion King. You know what I mean? Like, that's what? We've already got that and a remake of that. And the fact that the Lion King itself stole from another thing. So we we don't need a Terry Gilliam psychedelic interpretation of The Lion King. But, you know, hey, if the check floats into your fucking outstretched hands, you might just decide to make it. And I also think as well, Del Toro, much like, okay, here you go, this is where I'll get wanky for everyone at home. You know, in many ways, making Frankenstein is his own monster that has continually popped up in his life and, you know, and has kind of got in his head a little bit. As far as he's concerned, it has been a lifelong quest to ultimately make this movie. He's finally made it. He's put his version on screen. And if you look at all of the press that he's been doing since this, he literally says, like, okay, that's it now. Like, he is even essentially alluded to the biblical sense, I will put away these childish things. He literally said, in finishing this movie, I have explored all of the ideas I had as a child and all of the nightmares I had, or rather all of the dreams I had as a child. Now it's time to explore ideas I have as an adult and let the nightmares begin. So I don't even know what happens post Frankenstein for Guillermo del Toro as a director, but I think he's going to make more interesting movies going forward. I also don't know how long his Netflix deal has to last, but I think Netflix is where creativity goes to die a lot of the time.
I mean, let's just compare this. It's going to be a weird comparison, but in terms of exaggerated period pieces, I don't have a problem with that. You know, it's like Mandy is an exaggerated 80s piece, right? Sure. And Panos Cosmatos, one of the things about Cabinet of Curiosities, the piece that Panos did for that is an ultra exaggerated 1970s aesthetic. Yep. And it is cool as fuck, guys. It looks insane. But like when I come to Frankenstein, I don't look at this early 1800s setting and think this is a really cool version of this. I think this is melodramatic, overwrought, and just completely unbelievable. It's not a heightened version of that. It's this stupid black tower exploding 30 different times.
Yeah.
And it's just dumb.
I think you have to put some...
It's aesthetically dumb.
I think if you're on Netflix, again, the pressure is you have to put big set pieces in. Plus, well, this was a $150 million budget movie. It's easily the single largest...
You can put in big set pieces, but have them look good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like the batteries and the tower, it just looks bad. It somehow for $150 million looks cheap.
I mean, technically the budget's 120, but I'm doing that thing where you inflate it because of all the post-production and promotional stuff. But I mean, so let's say 120. I mean, like, yeah, it doesn't look like I'll agree. It doesn't look like a $120 million movie, but I would contend you don't need to give Guillermo del Toro $120 million ever for him to make a really good film. You just don't need to do it.
In fact, maybe you shouldn't, and he'd make better movies.
Yeah, I mean, no, but it's okay. So when I talk about filmmakers peccadillos, like we've all talked about this. You remember how, like, okay, Tarantino hasn't made a bad film, right? I'll even say Death Proof within its little, because no one's actually seen that as.
I do think every Tarantino film has like entertainment value at a minimum.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't think he's ever made
I don't think Tarantino has made a bad film. I just don't like some of his films, and there's a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's fine. Personal tastes are, of course, acceptable. But I would say this: as his career has gone on, there is a paunchiness to some of these films. There is an indulgence that doesn't need to be there. I think, again, Django Unchained is the perfect example of Tarantino's excess, where it's a film that ends twice. You could have easily had it when Django was captured the first time, break out, shoot out, and you shave 20-25 minutes off the movie. He didn't do that because he wanted to put in more scenes. Worryingly, one where Tarantino himself has a cameo as a South African with the worst South African accent ever committed to screen. Now, does that mean his movie is bad? No. I mean, Django Unchained is fucking exceptional. It's an exceptional film. I love that movie. And it has stellar performances and loads of... what I'm saying is, when you buy the ticket and take the ride, to criticize Del Toro for being sympathetic to the monster is crazy. To criticize Guillermo del Toro for leaning into melodramatic sensibilities is crazy. To criticize Del Toro for having some sketchy fucking CGI or effects given his stop motion and puppeteering background is crazy. And so I think, like, when you look at a movie like this, like I put it this way, I think a good analog as well is Nosferatu. I didn't like Nosferatu. I call it Nosferatu.
Nosferatu is way better than this movie.
I call it Nosferatu stars. And I was more entertained by this than Nosferatu.
Oh God! Aesthetically, Nosferatu kicks this movie's ass.
Aesthetically,
and also in terms of the story, yes, but in terms of the story, it kicks this movie's ass.
I put it this way: I thought the acting in Nosferatu totally let that movie down. Outside of Willem Dafoe, I think everyone sucks ass. I think the chick sucks ass. The fucking dude sucks ass. They're all every scene.
The only thing Frankenstein has going for it is the acting. That's it.
Well,
and I value acting very highly. And I still hate this movie, Richard, because it doesn't. The plot doesn't make any sense. It's a thematic train wreck. They literally do the "you were the monster all along," Victor. Like it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good. It's just too much at every stage.
I mean, for like,
say this as well.
Nosferatu at least doesn't take itself as seriously as this movie does.
Here's another problem this movie has at the heart of this film is if The Shape of Water didn't exist, I could forgive this as mere happenstance. But the fact that you do The Shape of Water and this film, it's like, bro, this is a crazy self-report, Guillermo del Toro. It's like, let me guess, do you feel like an unlovable monster who's all fucking ugly and the world rejected you, but you're just looking for that beautiful woman? The one in Shape of Water wasn't, but whatever. You take what you get, monster. You're just looking for that woman who can see beyond the mere visage and what really lies underneath. It's like that thing where the thing that ruins Game of Thrones is actually seeing what George R.R. Martin looks like and that he's just some fucking gremlin in real life. It's like, yeah, no wonder you think all the fucking Chad, good-looking, cool aesthetic people are just secretly wankers. Yeah,
and
you're
Becky
the cool
Lannister
one.
married,
and then magically you give all the best lines to a demented fucking dwarf with like one fucked up eye. Like again, Guillermo, come on, this is the same story. That's the same person. Just some bitter fuck like these stories.
Is it wrong that I think Shape of Water is fine? I think it's fine. I don't hate that movie at all. I don't see it. I think.
And here's the last thing. This is technically not actually criticism of the film. It's criticism of the creator, which goes like this. I'm also underwhelmed exactly because Guillermo del Toro is the sort of person where way before he had this level of status, if you'd have just given him like $3 million, he'd make some amazing sprawling movie with great aesthetics. So again, it's the whole James Cameron thing of like, right, here's the 100 million. And it's like, right, fuck, what's in the wastepaper basket? Like, that, I guess. Like, no, what? The 100 million should be when you make the greatest work of art of all time. Like, that should be like your Citizen Kane or something, mate. Like, go for it. You know, like, bat for fucking a home run on this one. Why do you just go, it's my time to make Frankenstein? You know what I mean? Like, do an original movie. You are literally considered an original, like, visionary genius. Just do something awesome with 100 million. Don't just make Frankenstein, like an all right version of it.
Yeah, look, again, Del Toro is a flawed filmmaker, but he also is a genius filmmaker. You know what you're gonna do? Like, I don't know. You know, it's like if you got upset with Scorsese for using too much fucking voiceover, or
I do get upset with Scorsese frequently, especially because he commits that sin that you were talking about in Django Unchained. It's like all of his later movies are just two endings constantly.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, that what is it? Killers of the Flower Moon, or whatever.
I haven't watched that one yet.
I mean, yeah, that is definitely that is another, you know, or The Irishman. I mean, both of those movies are good movies, but man alive, do they earn their runtime? Probably not. I'll certainly say this. Right, during Nosferatu, I actually paused the film and I was just like, I just need a timeout, man. Like, I've just seen this a million times, and I can't watch this dude's bottom lip fucking wobble anymore, man. Like, I just had to get up, you know, go into the office, just stare at something else for a while.
Water on your face in a really old-fashioned wrought, like porcelain sink, and then he took a swig, Monty, out of like a fucking a thing of bourbon he had, like a flask. And then he goes, right, time for the second session.
That's how I felt watching Frankenstein last night, as I lay on my couch shouting at how shit this movie was and desperately wanting to turn it off.
I at no point did I walk away from the screen or want to turn this movie off. At no point. And so it must have done something right. And I contend maybe, or like, because by the way, I've had a great time listening to you two fucking pick it apart. Like, I can agree and find all of that criticism funny, right? But I will say, okay, maybe it is a fundamentally bad movie that is elevated by the performances within it. Maybe that's
the acting's really good.
Maybe that is an opinion.
So I've realized something as well. I've just realized something as well, because one thing that did actually bother me about the movie too. I get this is from the book, but like, once you are the monster and you can speak and you can read books, at that point, why do you need to hunt him down to make you a mate? Like, mate, why can't you make the mate? Like, why is he the only one with mate making technology? Like, why is he figured out the KFC 37 spices and herbs and no one else has that formula? Why can no one else do it?
Also,
you know?
why can't he live a satisfying life?
That would also become quite a high priority for all the governments of the world. Look, you're creating super soldier 1.5 times.
Why can't he? If he doesn't die, just wear a mask and then become some sort of superhero. You know what I mean? Like, what?
Basically, at the end of this movie, why doesn't he at the end just go, but maybe there's a career for me in the theatre? And then it goes, coming soon, Guillermo del Toro's Phantom of the Opera. And then I probably pick some other Hollywood, maybe just have Sydney Sweeney go, oh my God, you ugly phantom bastard, I love you. over a totally normal human horse.
I think there's a point in this film that really encapsulates.
Why is this episode like Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Oh, you've eviscerated this movie. Here's the thing: people who like this movie are going to come into this episode and they're going to walk out and they're like, actually, I'm retarded or something. Like, I just can't.
So
you all get to feel like that fucking whatever Jurassic Park episode. By the way, even I know I'm sort of well on that one. Like, Jurassic Park's pretty good.
It was funny though.
No, but you guys weren't wrong. I was on that day, you know. Because I realize now it was just Jurassic Park. I did act like that was some like worst movie of all time.
Citizen Kane.
I think this gives a lot of insight. It obviously reflects me a lot when I'm going to say what I think about this film in a nutshell. So there's one scene when he's made friends with the blind man where he's sitting in the rafters reading Ozymandias, the poem by Shelley.
Cringe as well. I'm so sick of that poem. Like, that's the greatest poem ever. It's in everything.
Think about who wrote the fucking book and what sort of mad nepotism's that?
My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
Now, this episode of Foreplay is brought to you, of course, by Raycon. And luckily enough for you, right before the holiday season, they have released their newest model of earbud, as you can see right here. These are the Essential Open earbuds, which wrap around your ear and sit on the outside if you don't want one of those earbuds inside your ear canal. They will securely fasten to your ear so you can work out with them, no problem, but they sit on the outside if that's your preference. So just like you have come to expect from Raycon, they have a 36-hour battery life, 8-hour earbuds plus a 36-hour case, so you can do days of nonstop listening. If you were listening to this movie, all you would hear is the stupid groaning of Victor, Victor, though. So I don't recommend listening to Frankenstein on them. If you guys aren't into ones that sit on the outside of your ear, of course, you can go check out their Essential Everyday earbuds as well. These are fantastic value considering that they have active noise cancellation as well as transparency mode. And here's the kicker, just like all of Raycon's products, they deliver the same premium audio quality as the big brands, but at half the price. Add in over 3 million happy customers and a 30-day happiness guarantee. There's zero reason to overpay. You can try them out, and if you're not happy, just go ahead and send them on back. You can get them in a huge variety of colors as well if black just isn't your thing and you want to pop a little bit more. And of course, this Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you can save up to 30% on all Raycon products. So insane savings. It's a great stocking stuffer if you're getting ready for the holidays. So you can prep, buy a little early, get some big discounts, make somebody very happy that you know. And Black Friday is just around the corner. Raycon audio products are up to 30% off site-wide. From everyday essentials to the latest releases, it's the perfect time to upgrade your sound or get ahead on gifting. These early deals won't last long. Shop now before they're gone. Go to buyraycon.com/4play, FOURPLAY, open, OPEN, to save on Raycon audio products site-wide. Thanks for supporting us here on 4Play.
Yeah.
So first off, I'm pretty sure that Ozymandias is not in Frankenstein.
Well.
No.
In the original
really
text.
Makes sense it would be.
So this is what's wrong with this moment. So first off, it's one of those really poorly lit scenes again with like the ultra light in the background. Secondly, why is he in the rafters? Why the fuck is he reading books in the rafters? Doesn't make any sense. It's just because it looks cool, but it's too overwrought. Okay, let's think about Ozymandias, the poem. Very famous poem. What is it about? First off, it's not even a very good poem, for being honest. Like pretty low tier as far as romantic poetry goes.
True.
It's really on the nose. It's a short poem. The only reason, first off, it has also been quoted about 1 million times over the last 300 years. People might know it from Breaking Bad, where they literally named one of the last episodes Ozymandias after it. But it makes sense in Breaking Bad because the poem is about Ozymandias, who is Ramses II, the pharaoh, and it's a meditation, as is often the case in romantic poetry, on an object. That object is a broken statue in the sand of Egypt. And the whole idea of the poem, and it only has one idea, and it's not very complex, is there is a temporality to power, and it doesn't matter how powerful you are, over enough time, it doesn't matter. It is the irrelevance of power compared to like human power in comparison to the power of
will
time.
pale to eternity. You will be forgotten and be dust eventually. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have an empire, it doesn't really matter because, you know, the inscription on this statue is, "Here lies Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works."
It's why the character in Watchmen is called that, because the idea is he himself looks at like Alexander the Great and thinks, what can I ever do to be this legendary? Yeah, of course.
And by the way, nobody calls Ramses II Ozymandias unless you are referring to this poem. Everybody else just calls him Ramses II. He's the pharaoh from Exodus in the Bible. So with that in mind, in, let's say, Watchmen, in Breaking Bad, it makes sense to have this analogy. It makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does.
Because,
and I just want to make it clear that just in case anyone's missing the meta reference in Watchmen, all of his work is about to be undone by Rorschach's journal. That's the irony. Just saying. Alan Moore, good writer.
He's Alan Moore, very good at using literary references.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of this reference? Victor Frankenstein is guilty of hubris, wanting to play God. Those are not themes of that poem. Like, does Guillermo del Toro not know what this poem is about? It's deeply confusing why it's this poem in this movie and why it is so painfully shot with him sitting in the rafters for no reason. It's everything about this has no reason behind it and doesn't refer to anything else. We're not learning about Victor Frankenstein. We're not learning about the monster. Ozymandias has no bearing, and the themes of Ozymandias have no bearing on anything else in this movie. And yet it is there. And the only reason it's there is because people know that it is Percy Shelley's perhaps most famous poem, and Mary Shelley.
Most famous poem.
Yes, but Mary Shelley wrote this. So it's almost like, haha, did you know I know Percy Shelley's poetry? It's like, okay, but why is it in here? Why?
Yeah, like, again, I don't disagree. I mean, like, if we split the film into two halves, by the way, which the framing device kind of does, but the pacing's a little bit off. The first half is infinitely superior to the second half. Yeah?
Yeah, yes, but all of the important themes of the work should have been explored in the second half, but aren't.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of like they're both kind of technically unreliable narrators. They're giving their separate experience, you know. Maybe the monster never read Ozymandias. For Victor. Think about that.
What did Victor learn? He learned nothing.
To pretend he did.
He learned nothing. He literally just ran off into the Arctic chasing the monster, and he forgives the monster at the end. What is he forgiving the monster for? For murdering people? That monster is chasing him and literally just murders all those dudes on the ship for no reason. He knows he can kill people because he does it constantly.
I will say that, by the way. That captain, like, he's just like, listen, guys, okay, this monster just killed fucking.
He just believes. By the way, this guy just believes. He's actually proof of why we need due process. He just believes every story at face value. Like, oh, if you see all that stuff happen, then yeah, I guess you're right. Wait a minute, let's say his side. Oh, his side's cool too. All right, lads, shake hands, and
I mean,
go home.
I will add checks and balances.
Some headmaster or something.
The monster, which by the way, the amount of strength required to do this is insane.
Oh, yeah, by the way, that's another thing I wanted. I didn't even want to bring that up, Richard. Why does being electrocuted as a giant body make you the Hulk?
I don't know.
Because that's the thing, Richard. I'm willing to give you, like the Fly, a bit of, a bit of extra athletic ability, etc.
Yeah.
You can't just push tankers out of the whole fucking.
No, that's crazy.
Why?
Because, well,
and what leverage? What physics would make this work? None of it works, mate.
Picking up a dude and throwing him across a room.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
That thing must weigh like 100 tons.
It's nuts, isn't it? It's nuts, bro.
Yeah. So he just goes.
And again, if you had that ability and you're just trying to shoot him with a pistol, bro, you're just trying to murk him with a pistol, like
he just propels it. So I didn't like that, but it is checks and balances, I suppose. He killed 6, but they would have all died anyway, especially because they were like, look, for Russia, we got to go to the North Pole, so your lives are all forfeit. I'm the captain. Now, by the way, none of my men who I'm responsible for can tell me a compelling story about why we should go home. Now, let me just listen to this madman I picked up in the tundra. Yeah, look, I get it, man. Like, you can't fucking sit down and fucking analyze it like that. If you get into
yes, you can. It's a fucking piece of literature.
By the way, I agree on the thing with the apology, though, because the other thing I feel like is missing in this film is I feel like they think they nailed some kernel at the heart thing. For me, they missed it. Like I can say, they should have made more, in my opinion, of the idea of like that he's playing God. Because by the way, then he could do like a clever allusion to the idea, isn't that what God did with us? He created us and then went away, and then we've done all this since, and can we be forgiven and redeemed? Sure. Yeah, but he didn't do any of that. He didn't attempt to. Instead, all he did essentially is, right, this guy, again, creates like the most incredible thing any human's ever done. Epic. Immediately loses interest in it, like he's Danzig, and that's the Misfits. He's just like, you know what? I'm out of that. And everyone's like, please, Danzig, the Misfits were so good. He's like, I'm past that. I'm under my Danzig shit now. Bro, it's nuts. Why is that so throwaway? That's the best thing you ever did.
Also, why is Victor a monster? He's never shown to be monstrous. It's not like he knew what was going to happen, guys. He didn't know he was going to make that.
So I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to say this logically. This is totally logically, if you think about it from the Genesis, right? Yeah. If logically he took someone who was dead, a bunch of bodies, and he reanimated them, why is it then evil for him to want to kill that monster? Am I wrong? He's the one that gave it. It didn't. Remember, it is literally legally dead, so there's no due process. 2, he's the one that gave it life, not God. He gave it life, and so thirdly, he could logically take the life away. That is literally.
And also, God legally takes lives of people all the time. Just gonna put it out there.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Guillermo del Toro really just wants to actually have a meeting with God where he goes, you are the monster, really, God, for not making women like me, like the shape of what, whatever. I'm just still on that voice. I can't get off it. I can't get off it.
As if you think his entire oeuvre is about getting laid. Like
it's just tricking me. I
can't but seriously, why is Victor Frankenstein a monster in this movie?
Like Guillermo del Toro's like George Costanza or something scheming to get a date.
What did he do? By the way, when Elizabeth told him to fuck off, he literally did. He wasn't going to interfere in his younger brother's marriage. His younger brother didn't even know about their flirting. Nothing ever happened. And his crime is like doing research with corpses, and then it accidentally turns into something else. And he tried to stop the monster. He tried to kill it so it wouldn't hurt people. Why? Victor Frankenstein did nothing wrong.
This movie will also create a generation of incels, and here's why. Because you're out there trying to riz girls, give them gifts, dates. This cocksucker just hands a leaf over, and she's just fucking falling head over heels, man. That leaf is the most powerful riz of all time.
Are you 7 foot?
I know.
Are you 7 foot? That's how unbelievably
it's true. They just want the people who are over 6 foot, over 6 inch, taking 6 inch. Listen, he did have the salary. He had that sick tower. You know, he had the. There's another thing, by the way. Just to destroy that fucking amazing tower, which also, when you even see that tower, you're like, that's a bit on the nose, isn't it? Come on, bro. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Everything is on the nose.
That's like the ultimate version of that tower out of a cartoon or something, though. You know what I mean? Like, this is
that's what
life,
I'm saying.
Real life, that. So it's not.
At least you haven't gone Freudian on it.
True.
At least you haven't gone Freudian on it. Like,
Hey, baby, have you seen my 600-foot big black tower?
Yeah, it was the sports car. It was the fucking sports car of its time.
Here's the thing, though. I actually also do feel like there is a point behind what I'm saying, though, which is this. I feel like you absolutely can resolve in a film about Frankenstein both characters and make it satisfying. Like, the obvious way you resolve it goes like this. Frankenstein, in some sense, is like a bit like God. Once he's already made life, it's too late. Then it's up and rolling, it's going. And so if you don't want to be actively involved in every sense, you will appear like a monster because you know what, you didn't actually plan that this would ever work, sort of. Similarly, if you are the monster, obviously you are doomed to never have a happy life. You'll never find anyone like you. You'll always be some sort of an outsider. You can only basically mimic being human. Like, that's it. There's loads to work with there. It's just they don't really attempt what I'm talking about at all. It's just some weird. That's my biggest gripe with this movie. I feel like the whole movie is reverse engineered. That at the end, the monster's like somehow sort of the hero or something, or it was all about him somehow. That I think you should have given something more to Frankenstein in it. You know,
I've got the analogy.
Both parties should get something at the end. I think.
I've got the analogy.
Go on.
Here's why the film might feel unsatisfying, particularly to people who don't like Del Toro's work, because ultimately, like the monster itself, this is a film which is stitched together from parts of his older movies.
Yeah. By the way, that's another thing I would also say as well. I also don't like that period of directors' careers. And by the way, people like Tarantino have already crossed this Rubicon where they start to become self-referential. Because I always want to tell them, like, bro, but what made you brilliant is that you might have been referencing other things, like if you're Tarantino, but you weren't referencing yourself. Like, you know, that's a bit too on the nose, son. I know what you mean.
Yeah, well, because look, it's like you said, there's definitely a lot of self-referential components to this, and just obviously as well the fact that it's like you don't even have to be directly self-referential. It's like essentially, if I watch a movie, like I could watch this and you could not tell me Del Toro was involved. You could say, do you want to watch this new Frankenstein? I'd know about 5 minutes in, this is a Del Toro movie, right? You know what I mean? Like when your calling card is so fucking overt, it can border on insufferable unless you really like the filmmaker. Now, I really like the filmmaker.
I liked him. No.
Here's the thing. Like you gotta get right with your directors. You gotta get ride or die, because ultimately, bro, this is real. Ultimately,
I feel like I don't.
Well, there's no Richard. Even though in spirit, I agree with you. There are some directors I'll just give insane leash to. But the problem is though that you do end up doing things like Ridley Scott yourself. There, you know what I mean? Like,
or James Cameroning yourself.
You go, how many times do I have to die, Ridley? Please, I'm trying to ride with you, mate. Please.
No, but here you go.
And he's like, I know, man. Maybe we should go hold up the spec, man. Like, no, Ridley, no, not again.
I bet, absolute certainty, I bet you found something to like about that Napoleon movie.
Oh, here's what's sad. I get what you mean. I will try my hardest to get some element out of it. And the second, by the way, they do a good film. Like I would say that last Job film was mega. I'll be right back with you. I'm ready to come straight back on. It's also why, by the way, to summarize this film, actually, that's why I was also willing to give this a try. Like I'm open to the idea, Guillermo del Toro, to do a badass movie. And this even, by the way, here's another thing I have to say. Maybe I should have said this at the outset. I actually, because I hadn't seen anything beyond, I think, like a mini trailer on Netflix or something, like just something that played when you opened the site. I actually only saw the initial, like some vague aesthetic. I actually thought this might be really good. I was sort of actually hyped for it. I thought it even sounded on paper like one of those. But it's weird. This also aged badly. It's like when they said that fucking Denis Villeneuve was going to do Dune. I was like, that sounds fucking mega. What are you talking about? Yeah, bring it on.
I'm willing to say Denis Villeneuve's interpretation of Dune is probably better than Del Toro's interpretation of Frankenstein. But
significantly.
But Frank Herbert wrote a really good book. Mary Shelley did not. So, you know.
Also, that is fair as well. I will say one area that I think, and this is a classic rant, but it's one that I hope everyone can appreciate. That is probably the worst thing they did actually do with like English literature class in schools, is this notion that every famous book over 100 years old is a classic and therefore amazing. No, absolutely, like there are so, like pretty sweet. If I'm not joking, if you had Richard assign like books for like 13-year-old to read, I bet he would pick some bangers that would be mega. They always pick some shite like this, where if you read it, it'll actually make you think all books are boring, mate, and they're not that good. And you just
they hit you with Jane Austen.
Some just aren't classics like that. They're too niche. You know
Nothing
what I mean?
that teenage boys love more than Jane Austen.
Yeah, and it's like the only funny thing about Jane Austen is in Sense and Sensibility, it's got some line like fucking and Mr. Darcy ejaculated across the piano or something because he just meant to like lean across and talk like that, not to have the sexy fireworks.
And yet somehow Jane Austen is much better than any of these Gothic novels that came out. At least, and look, the reason why I even know about these novels and I read them was because I was a literature student in university, right? And I had to read them as part of the survey of Western literature and there was a probably 50, 60-year period where these books were all the rage. But these books were not presented to me as great art. It's just this is what was going on. Read it.
It's the same for me. Like I studied English lit, and you end up doing some books that you just wouldn't touch in a million years, and you certainly won't go back and reread them. Like I would contend Canterbury Tales, for instance, by Chaucer.
Yes.
It's like you have to read it to understand the importance of
but once you read Canterbury Tales, you get to enjoy Hyperion, which is fucking mega.
Yeah,
so.
And like so we got hit with it all. It was fucking Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice.
You just have to understand.
Charles Dickens is another one, the most overrated writer of all time.
Charles
probably. I detest Charles. But again, they ram it down your throat and you go, oh, can I have like Christmas Carol or one of the easy ones? Like, nah, you're gonna have this.
Enjoy Great Expectations.
Yeah, Great Expectations. Fucking shoot me in the face. Like, I never want to.
At least, A Tale of Two Cities is probably his best book, in my opinion. But even then, I don't really like it. But yeah, getting slapped by Great Expectations makes you.
But
very
here you
sad.
go. This is again another interesting analog. There are people out there who ride or die for Dickens. They're like, I like that one book. And he wrote these other books, and those books aren't as good. But you know what? He's still canonically a great writer, and that brings us back to Ridley Scott. You know what I mean? His Gladiator was, fucking whatever you think the best Dickens book is. But then obviously there's a lot of fucking Oliver Twist and all the rest of the shite that's in there. So, but yeah, I just think like I'm obviously massively biased. I love Del Toro. I've followed his career since he first like burst onto the scene. I think he's a super interesting filmmaker. He finds poignancy in moments that shouldn't have any. Like on Hellboy 2, when they, because like that's about the war with the fucking elves or whatever, and they're conjuring up the monsters. And Hellboy has to come and kill this monster that's rampaging downtown, and as it dies, it like explodes into all these like beautiful like flowers and stuff. And they say like you've just killed the last of its kind, and it's like it's this insane, poignant moment out of nowhere. That's pure Del Toro. It's fucking Hellboy 2. I shouldn't be getting up in my feelings about that. It's just Ron Perlman painted red with 2 yogurt pots on his head.
Also, I mean, the Hellboy movies, I think if you watch them now, you won't understand how revolutionary they were at the time, because you have to remember this is pre-Marvel, right? Iron Man came out in 2008, which is when Hellboy 2 came out. So this was, these were graphic novel movies that were cool.
Yeah, and obviously, like,
so I have very fond memories of the Hellboy films.
Mignola's fucking visual style is really hard to even attempt to capture. Del Toro, the perfect fucking guy for that. And
but this was, if you go back now, I'm just saying they may not seem as interesting, but at the time they came out, they were very interesting.
I do think, to Duncan's point as well, the thing that he's working out isn't women, right? It's, he's a chud. He is a chud, right? Like, he's one of us, you know what I mean? But like, but the thing he's working out is, if you look at the through road for all of his films, it's he detests authoritarianism and societal structures. That's what it's all about. Like, if he had to put one through line for all of his films, other than Sympathy for the Monster, it's that. Because what he's saying is, why does he have sympathy for the monster? Well, it's the society, man, that turns us into monsters. I mean, that's what the fucking Shape of Water's all about. And that's why I'm ride or die with Del Toro. Like, I love the way he tells stories, even when the stories suck. That's just where I'm at. So I don't know. Like, not all 2-star movies are equal. I'll give it the Roger Ebert scale of 4 stars, and this is probably a 2-star movie on that scale. But I thought Nosferatu was a 2-star movie, and I was more entertained.
I've realised it's actually low key a bomber every time I realise, because now I even know the year. Every time I remember that Roger Ebert's dead when a movie came out, it bums me out knowing there's no review coming.
I know. There you go. That's another thing that the podcast has achieved. It's like we're all sad.
Oh, I've just realised the obvious sad thing there is the meme version is that we then reanimate Roger Ebert's body with.
We are like literally,
and it becomes like and in the end, we're the true monster that was reviewing movies badly or something.
There you go. There you go. Ebertstein.
Yeah.
Victor Ebertstein.
And
makes
our
his
own
monster.
fans, like me, a goth, go, actually, I prefer Roger Ebert to your reviews. He's got heart and soul. You're just cynical bastards.
Imagine that. Imagine that.
I'm a betrayal.
Roger Ebert's carrying her off to the review cave. I always preferred your sterile interpretations.
But
I thought Casablanca had a gay subtext.
That'll always haunt me as well. I'll never forget that detail ever in my life now, mate.
This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I'll take your trousers out.
Rick is gay.
What the fuck? Roger, dude,
It's
what
just
is
like,
wrong?
it's one of the only times I've ever seen like someone just wholesale read something into a film that wasn't even there. Like, what? What a mad self-report that is.
Casablanca is the Rorschach test. Like,
Yeah.
just fucking, just
Oh, by the way, that is also one of my favourite stupid memes people make, which is that joke where people have done it a million times, it's rage bait on the internet, where what you do is you take like, you say something like, why does everyone think that character in Watchmen's so cool who has like my dad having gay sex on his face? Because that's the fucking joke in it. Like, it's a pretty good one. I can't lie. It's a fucking banger. It's pretty good.
I still think the point you made is great, because while we're talking about creative irony, it's like, you know, the character of Rorschach being misinterpreted, or rather, Alan Moore not interpreting what people.
He's like,
would
what?
see.
You can see exactly what I saw in that character. It's like, Alan, come on.
You know it.
Come on.
He's bad. He's bad. Yeah, but you've given him like a few positive traits, like, and you killed that.
He's mad heroic at the end, you
No,
lunatic.
no.
He's, like he's actually
Like,
the most
literally.
obvious thing to grab onto as a human with feelings, you know. Like,
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
love it.
But yeah, anyway, so look, I am very glad that we came together to discuss this movie.
It ended up being a
have
spit
been-
roast episode, it turned out. But we
No,
didn't know
yeah,
that.
like the captain on that boat, I have heard both of your sides, and I have been moved by your dramatic storytelling, and I will allow you to go and watch other movies. All you have to do is push me out of the fucking Del Toro loving tundra I am in and free me.
So
from
luckily,
this
at the time that we recorded this episode, we are also in the middle of our Robert Redford arc, which, by the way,
Yeah.
is actually really good. It's a really enjoyable arc of films to watch too, so it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, exactly. It's definitely softened the blow a little bit. Look, honestly, speaking candidly, it's probably it's schlock, probably, right? But like,
it's super schlock.
yeah,
man.
but it's like it's my schlock, you know. So I'm gonna just say. By the way, it's got universal praise. It's not like this is a film that has been critically panned. People love this fucking movie, dude. It's got like positive, like it's one of the few Metacritic things where everyone's like meeting in the fucking middle. Where it's like usually, you know, if the critics don't like it, the fans do. If the fans don't like it, the critics love it. This is like, it's got like 86% on Rotten Tomatoes or something. Like,
Unbelievable.
Yeah, like people fuck with
It's
this
really
film.
just an indictment of modern cinema.
So, you know, put it this way. Final question to end the episode. Other Gothic horror interpretations and, you know, big budget movie attempts, how would you feel about this compared to Bram Stoker's Dracula? That Coppola.
But here's the problem. I think you've implied you don't like. I think that's a mega movie. I really like that. I find that.
I think
really,
it's much better.
I love how operatic that is, and like it's actually a lot of the things I don't like about this. I like about that. Like I do like about how like.
I'm
like,
not judging
this
it. I'm
way,
not saying I don't.
In
like that
contrast,
movie.
first of all, I love the aesthetic of that film. I think that film's badass. Like I love all the design, the armor and stuff. And then also, I think that movie nails something that he was trying to go for in this movie, which is I actually find that movie. The reason it's my favorite Dracula interpretation is I think it is brilliant how it actually handles the love interest of Vlad with like the reincarnation as well. I think the way they handle that's beautiful. It's not just like, oh my god, I hope they get away from her. Like, oh my god, that he's coming after Jonathan Harker's wife. No, they make it imply like that love story of like I came across oceans to find you. That's actually like really, because it's Gary Oldman, they fucking nailed that in my opinion. I think that's a really interesting like way to give her, because they remember they simultaneously make it so that he does have that romantic aspect to himself, but then he is also a monster. Like you see the way he gets killed by Van Helsing, he's like a total animal. So I find that I think they keep the tension really done well in that movie. I enjoy that film.
So, like for me, I think if you were to like look at it as like a triptych, yeah, probably you would compare this to that and see how it holds up. I think you could compare this to Interview with the Vampire as well a little bit. I think that's
which is also another incredibly cheesy movie, but that is more fun than this. That's the problem. Like Interview with the Vampire is a lot of fun in its cheesiness. Like watching people in like the French lace in like New Orleans or whatever, you know, from the Rococo period is cheesy, but
one thing you've got to give that film, in my opinion, is that film does feel really long and a meditation on immortality and life and what does it mean to be young.
Thematically,
I think that's there's a lot more substance to that film for me.
So what we agree is then that this is essentially just downstream of better movies, and Del Toro essentially was given a blank check, total carte blanche to make whatever he wanted to make, and then ultimately just made something that pales by comparison to other attempts to bring
just even aesthetically, like Bram Stoker's Dracula, I think, is obviously a heightened version of the Victorian period, and that red armor is like really weird, but it works because it's not overtuned like this movie is. And Interview with the Vampire does have the silly, like I said, the Rococo 18th century aesthetic that is in the film because it's an old vampire, but it's not like it is a period costume. It just looks silly in the modern context in which it's portrayed. And it's not that overtuned for the actual era in which the vampire is coming from, if that makes sense, right? The thing about this is that tower is just so absurd, man. Just everything. This is that stupid hole in the floor, the giant Medusa head, the dumb batteries, the entire useless sequence where he has to climb. It's like, there's a rainstorm. Now I'm going to climb up in the rain, the most dangerous part, to put the silver spire on top. It's just like, give me a fucking break. It's just dumb. Why would you design something that could only be climbed in the middle of a rainstorm on slippery stone?
Look, health and safety laws just weren't what they are. You know what you want me to say?
So he can design a spire that automatically moves into place with power, but he can't design a spire that just pops out of the top when a lightning storm is happening.
So look,
the aesthetic is absurd. Is what my point is.
Look, and look, by the way, also, Del Toro always puts religious iconography in his movie, and the monster was crucified. And blah, 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 blah. Look, it's Del Toro. I'm just going to keep... That's another sign. I'm going to put that with my signs.
But it's like it's like his thoughts never go any deeper. He's like, this is Christ-like because it was resurrected. But
yeah, look,
that's it.
That is certainly something I can agree with. I think there is... the profound aspect to this movie where it fails ultimately is it doesn't really it doesn't really explore its themes in a curious way. And I think, yes, problem with the source text, problem with Netflix. As I said, it is where creativity goes to die. I think it's very much a poison chalice to take a Netflix deal, because for every W Netflix racks up, there are 100 fucking failures. And they seemingly just have an infinite amount of money to spend on things that everyone can tell you are fundamentally bad, like fucking modern live action remakes of animes nobody asked for. You know, Netflix is just like, it is creative death. And all of that considered, I think ultimately you'll probably see Frankenstein get like where it could break new ground is I think you might see Frankenstein get nominated for. I mean, like, I think Oscar Isaac is a genuine shot at maybe being nominated for Best Actor. I think Mia Goth could maybe sneak in for fucking Best Actress. I think Christoph Waltz could sneak in for Best Supporting. I think these things are all possible, and so. Is the film
random question for you? Did you also? I also just found the accent he did a bit weird in the movie. Don't know why.
Oscar Isaac
didn't sound like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I thought
that a bit strange.
Yeah, no, but I like that, because one of the things Oscar Isaac is definitely guilty of, if you look at his fucking already too long film career, is he does too many fucking films where he is just him. And it's obviously him, and you can just, he sounds like that, and he looks like that, and he does that, and like, so his best work is like, I think when he really is into the role, like Ex Machina he's so good in that, and
that's a great movie,
and unrecognizable though, right? Like I had to do a double take first time.
He looks older in that film than he does in these modern films now. It's true, yeah.
Well, what's also mad is, bro, he's only 46. if you can process that. And he's been in 1,000 movies already, right? So it's like, that's what I mean. He was definitely oversaturated. But I think he's excellent in this. I think it's the best thing he has done in 10 years. And I think by the way, not a lot of people saw the Moon Knight series. He's fucking great in that. I mean, he's really good, and it's a shame what happened with that, because they ended up having to cancel it because of a death, I believe. But he's great in Moon Knight, really, really good. It's like, out of all of the Marvel slop that people do, Moon Knight was actually, I mean, first of all, it's a super interesting comic to adapt, and he's really good in it. And like, that's what I mean. When he throws himself into it, he's great. He is capable of greatness. But like, do you remember anything about his like Duke Leto from Doom? Do you remember any? It was It was just man with beard, right? You know what I mean? So I put it this way: I definitely think out of the 3 names I've listed, they could conceivably get nominated for an Oscar off the back of this movie. Which, even if you think it's terrible, the thing that delighted me and pulled me through the film, I wasn't thinking about the things Monty was thinking about. To be clear, I was thinking about, wow, Oscar Isaac's fucking going full send. Mia Goth's fucking great. I can't wait to see where her career goes. She's so great. Christoph Waltz, you know, he's good, but careful. You are getting typecast now, mate. But yeah, and also like good supporting cast. We talked about Charles Dance, David Bradley, the guy who played Walder Frey, everybody loves, and obviously he's that guy in Hot Fuzz with the bomb in his barn. Great. Ralph Ineson's in it. Very briefly, you recognize that voice straight away, even though he's got that judicial wig on. Great. Yeah, really good cast. Everyone acted well in it. I wanted to see how the story ended. Thought the ending was kind of shit. You know? Did think the ending was shit, not going to lie. Thought the Mia Goth's death was completely shit as well and mishandled. I think if you're going to lean into her having a relationship with the monster, you have to then get into the Victor Frankenstein bringing her back and making the Bride of Frankenstein angle. Then it would have all made sense. But obviously they didn't have time for that.
Well, maybe if they spent less time
no
on
way, am I the only one?
Victor's pointless childhood.
It actually felt like they were hinting they were going to do that at the end of the film.
Yeah.
I'm missing that. I thought they were trying to keep alluding to that.
Yeah.
But it's another thing as well. Netflix were like, look, we put out long movies, but you're no Scorsese, Del Toro. You're not going 4 hours. And so he had to do a 2-hour and 45-minute job that doesn't fucking necessarily explore everything it should have explored. I mean, okay, imagine you chop this up, put all the stuff I said in, and it's a TV series. Probably bang.
It might have fit
right?
being a TV series a lot more if I had more space to unpack things, yeah.
So, you know, first episode is just that on the ice, setting it up. Boom, your title crawl. Fuck me, can't wait for episode 2. So, you know, look, it's flawed. It's no masterpiece. It's not even one of Del Toro's top 3 films. It's probably in the top 5, though. Make of that what you will. But like I say, I'm right on. Me and Del Toro, we're robbing that bank again and again and again and again.
All right. Well, thank you guys. We'll end it there. Let us know what you think about our one night stand, and if you want us to hear us do more popular, or not even popular necessary, but also new releases that we find interesting, because sometimes there's a diamond in the rough that comes out, and we've been lamenting missing those as well. So we will proceed with our normal arc back to our regular scheduled programming next week with the Robert Redford arc. The first film for that is The Sting, which is very fun, unlike this movie. Enjoy.